Wednesday, November 9th, 1983. It was a quiet evening in Amsterdam. Around 7 p.m., Freddy Heineken, the CEO of Heineken, stepped out of his office for the day. His driver, abduct, was waiting outside, like he always was. But something was different. The company's armored Cadillac wasn't where it was usually parked. That night, it was a bit farther down the street. Two women exited ahead of him. Heineken followed, locking the office door behind him, likely expecting a routine ride home. But the car wasn't there. And before he could make sense of it, someone grabbed him from behind. One of the women screamed and tried to pull the man off. Seconds later, two more men showed up. One sprayed her in the face with tear gas. The other raised a handgun, keeping everyone at a distance. Heineken fell to the ground. He resisted, trying to fight them off. And then he shouted, calling out for his driver. Abduct was already running toward him. But just as he got close, a fourth man intercepted him. The two struggled. In the chaos, Heineken was pulled into a van, a bright orange one, parked just out of view. Ab was forced in after him. Inside the van, they were shackled. Then motorcycle helmets were placed over their heads, the visors taped shut, only the sound of the doors slamming shut. And just like that, one of the most powerful men in the Netherlands and his loyal driver had vanished. About 90 minutes later, a small police station in The Hague receives a mysterious package. Inside is a letter, carefully typed and deliberately worded. It demands millions in exchange for the safe return of Freddy Heineken and his chauffeur. It's the beginning of one of the most carefully orchestrated kidnappings in European history, a plan that had been in motion for over 2 years. This is the story of the kidnapping of Freddy Heineken. It's New Year's Eve, 1981. A man is driving to meet his closest friends at a small apartment above a flower shop in Amsterdam. They call the place Paradise. It's almost midnight. As he pulls up, he spots two familiar cars, a red Saab Turbo and a bronze Mercedes. He walks upstairs. The door is already open. Inside, his friends lounge in leather chairs. The countdown plays quietly on TV. When midnight hits, he clears his throat. We've made decent money all these years. Good jobs, cash in our pockets. We were living well, but now it's like we're chasing crumbs. The economy's tanking, construction's dried up, and the banks, they're not helping anyone. I'm not going to sit here and watch it all fall apart. Maybe it's time we stop playing safe. Time for one big move, something that changes everything. That man is Cor van Hout, known as Flip. He's 26, a gambler, a real estate dealer, and the mastermind behind what would become Operation Heineken. Cor's right-hand man is Willem Holleder. Muscular, unpredictable, nicknamed the Nose, though no one knows why. Then there's Frans Meyer, quiet and calculating. His friends call him the Professor. Jan Berlard, nicknamed the Cat for his habit of tilting his head when he listens, is the oldest and most practical of the group. And finally, Cor's half-brother, Martin Urkamps, nicknamed Brakes, young, reckless, but good at stealing cars. Together, they would spend 2 years planning the most notorious kidnapping in Dutch history. The plan was flawless. The escape route rehearsed. The vehicles stolen and modified. At 7 p.m., November 9th, Freddy Heineken and his driver are abducted outside the Heineken office. Unnoticed, but not entirely. A taxi driver nearby sees the struggle. He follows the van and alerts police. The kidnappers are aware but remain calm. Their route is mapped to avoid detection, but there's a problem. They reach a critical intersection where police are performing random checks. It's a risk. They run the red light, and somehow the street is clear. Their destination was a bike tunnel beneath the Toronto Bridge, a quiet, narrow path, usually meant for cyclists. Earlier that day, the gang had removed a bollard that blocked car access. As they approached the tunnel, the van slowed down. But there was a problem. The taxi driver, who had witnessed the abduction, was still behind them, keeping his distance but continuing to follow. The plan had been to block the tunnel with the van and carry out the transfer in total privacy. But now, with eyes on them, they had to adapt. Instead of stopping midway, The van drove all the way through the tunnel. The taxi driver who had been tailing them cautiously crept closer, but as he approached, the nose stepped out of the shadows, gun in hand. He walked slowly toward the taxi, making his intentions very clear. The driver understood. He backed off. The pursuit ended. Nearby, 2 getaway vehicles were waiting, pre-positioned hours earlier. Freddy Heineken was loaded into the white Citroën. His driver was placed in the Renault 20. Within seconds, the cars pulled away. Their destination, a large steel Romney shed, a warehouse that looked like any other from the outside. But inside, it was a prison. The doors opened. The vehicles rolled inside. Doors shut behind them. They had vanished. The entire abduction, from the first grab to the final hideout, took less than 35 minutes. In that short span, Freddy Heineken and his loyal driver were taken without a trace. Their clothes were burned. Only their ID cards and Heineken's watch were kept to prove their capture. Within the hour, the gang would return to Amsterdam bars to build alibis, drinking casually among friends as if nothing had happened. Back in The Hague, an anonymous package was already on its way to a police station. Inside, a letter typed in Dutch on German stationery, Freddy Heineken's watch, Abdodera's passport and ID, and a demand. The demands begin. The letter wastes no time. It demands a ransom in the millions, with surgical precision. The kidnappers want 35 million Dutch guilders, roughly 16 million euros at the time. But it's not just about the amount. The logistics are just as important. They instruct the police to gather the money in different currencies and varied denominations, making it harder to trace and easier to spend. Every banknote must have been in circulation and show signs of wear. No new bills. Each bill must be stacked in packs of 100, secured with 2 elastic bands, then placed inside 5 Dutch postal mail bags. It's not a random request. The kidnappers had calculated the weight, the volume, and the best way to carry it without drawing attention. From this point forward, the police will be referred to as the Hare. The kidnappers call themselves the Eagle. The letter is cold, professional, and absolute. It ends with a final demand. No media coverage, no searches, no questions. If the police comply, they'll receive further instructions through secret drop-offs, newspaper ads, and coded phrases. If they don't, there will be consequences. At the scene of the abduction, police investigators move quickly. There's broken glass on the pavement, the kind that tells a story, and nearby, a black duffel bag seemingly dropped in a rush. Inside it, Uzi submachine guns. The implications are immediate. This wasn't just a kidnapping. This looked like the work of a heavily armed professional foreign gang, maybe even paramilitary. That's exactly what the kidnappers wanted the police to think. The bag of Uzis, it wasn't forgotten. It was planted. Cor van Hout, the mastermind, knew exactly what he was doing. Every prop at the scene was part of a larger illusion. The broken glasses found on the ground, they weren't broken in a scuffle. Cor had placed them there deliberately. He knew forensic teams would pick them up and waste precious time trying to reconstruct the narrative. The goal wasn't to escape unseen. The goal was to make the police look the wrong way. Not far from the scene, the police found the orange van, the one used in the kidnapping. It was reported stolen. Tracing its registration led investigators to a dealership, where they uncovered something new. Another stolen vehicle, an Opel Kadett. That car was later found abandoned in a parking lot near Breda, close to the Belgian border. To the police, it looked like the gang had escaped across the border, maybe even to Germany. That's what the evidence suggested. But again, that's what Cor wanted. Nearly every piece of equipment used in the kidnapping, from the typewriters to the disguises, even the stationery used in the ransom notes, had been purchased outside the Netherlands. Anything to create confusion, delay, and misdirection. The kidnappers knew the more the police chased international leads, the less likely they were to look close to home. They weren't hiding in the woods. They weren't across the border. They were just outside Amsterdam, in a steel shed on an industrial lot. And the police had no idea. Back at the police headquarters, time is slipping away. The clock is ticking on the 72-hour deadline. Freddy Heineken and Abdodera are still missing. And the ransom letter left no room for bargaining. But how do you negotiate with someone who refuses to talk? The kidnappers had already planned how to control the conversation. They didn't want a back and forth. They wanted complete control, so they made sure the police couldn't call them. Instead, they used payphones across the Netherlands, playing pre-recorded cassette tapes of abduct reading their instructions. The tapes were short, strict, pre-written. There was no room to argue, no questions to ask. If the police wanted to talk back, they had to place ads in a local newspaper. Each phone call sent the police on a mission to retrieve a hidden letter or follow a trail of clues. All physical, all timed. No emails, no electronics, just old-school espionage. One mistake, and the next phone call might never come. The police found themselves in a psychological game of cat and mouse, but they were never the cat. The kidnappers controlled the map, set the rules, and moved 3 steps ahead. The ransom was coming together. 35 million Dutch guilders, roughly 74.6 million euros today. 5 large mailbags stacked with well-worn, untraceable notes, bundled, packed, and ready. But the question still remained. How do you move half a ton of cash without ever meeting the police face to face? Moving money is harder than taking it. Kidnapping someone is one thing, but collecting the ransom without getting caught, that's the real heist. The kidnappers weren't just criminals, they were planners. They knew that the bigger the sum, the riskier the pickup. They even ran physical tests, filling mailbags with wood blocks to simulate the weight. Each full bag, around 100 kilograms. That's the weight of a grown man, and there were 5 of them. So they had to design a handoff system that was invisible, fast, and gave the police no opportunity to follow them. It's Tuesday, November 15th, 1983. 6 days after the abduction, the police are tired, worn down, running on instinct and stress. Then the phone rings. It's Abdotera's voice from a cassette tape playing at a random phone booth.
This is an instruction for the hare from the eagle.
The ransom handoff has officially begun. The first instructions: kidnappers instruct police to take a white VW transporter van marked with 2 red crosses and leave within 10 minutes. Drive to the Hilton Hotel at Schiphol Airport. At the foot of the first lamppost on the right, they'll find a plastic container buried underground. Inside, the next clue.
If the van is followed, the deal is off.
The message is crystal clear. Do not mess this up. But when the kidnappers look out from their observation point, the van never arrives. Cor van Hout and his team had everything mapped out. They had observation spots, walkie-talkies, backup cars, and alternate exits. But now, nothing. Hours pass, no movement. Something has gone wrong. The police have either missed the van or worse, they've tried to trick the kidnappers. Cor is furious. He sends a chilling message.
Irreparable damage has been done to one of the victim's fingers.
The kidnappers vanished. For 10 full days, no calls, no instructions, just silence. Then, on November 27th, they reappear. But now, they have new names. They are no longer the Eagle, they're the Owl. The police? Now called the Mouse. The power dynamic has shifted once again, and the game resumes, but this time, more complex than ever. At 2:30 a.m., police collect instructions from a locker in Utrecht Central Station.
Drive the van with the 5 mailbags. Leave in 10 minutes. No one must follow.
They directed the driver to many locations. This isn't a delivery, it's a test of obedience, and the police have no choice but to follow, mile by mile, note by note. At the last stop, they find a Ford Transit van with a walkie-talkie inside. The driver is told,
Do not touch the device. It is live. Only listen. Do exactly as instructed.
It's just past 7 a.m. The ransom trail has stretched across the entire country. The driver of the van, the Mouse, has followed every buried note, every coded clue, every impossible turn. He's tired, and still has 5 mailbags in the back, each weighing over 100 kilos, filled with millions. He waits at the Mars Baran overpass, the latest checkpoint in a cross-country scavenger hunt. Then, the walkie-talkie crackles to life.
This is the Owl. This message has absolute priority. Reduce your speed to 60 kilometers per hour. Follow the crash barrier. You'll see red road cones. Stop there. Put the bags into the hole you'll find. Then leave immediately. Do not look back. Do not wait. This message has absolute priority.
The voice is steady, firm, like it's been rehearsed. About 800 meters away, hidden at the edge of a field near a military base, sits Willem Holleder, the Nose, in full army uniform, binoculars in hand. From a distance, he can clearly see the Renault. And if a police helicopter flies by, he'll just look like another soldier on a morning watch. Closer to the overpass, hidden in nearby bushes, is Franz Meyer, crouched, observing the scene like a hawk. His job is simple. If anyone else is nearby, any trailing officers, any unmarked cars, he aborts the mission. But everything is going to plan. Inside a hidden van under the overpass, Cor van Hout and Jan Bollard wait. They hear the soft thud of mailbags sliding down the dirt. 5 in total, Cor gives the signal. In under 30 seconds, all 5 kidnappers are back in the van, cash secured. There's no celebration, no words, just a quiet, coordinated exit. They drive straight to a forest clearing near Zeist, where pre-dug plastic barrels wait under the soil. They made sure there was no GPS, no technology for tracking them, just precision and planning. They bury the bags, cover them with leaves and branches. Disguises come off, and within minutes the 5 men hop on bicycles and disappear, weaving into traffic like any other early morning cyclists. After all the planning, after all the pressure and paranoia, they did it. Not a single shot fired, not a single trace left, just 5 bikes and a forest floor, now holding the largest ransom ever paid in European history. The money was gone, the van was empty, and the kidnappers vanished into the wind. No one followed, no one was seen, no one even knew who they were. For now, it seemed like the perfect crime. Just one day after the ransom handoff was supposed to take place, a letter landed on the desk of Dutch police. It was short, anonymous, no return address. Inside were 3 names: Cor van Hout, Jan Bollard, and Franz Meyer. And one key location, a woodworking shed owned by the Heineken company. The tip claimed the men were linked to the property. It even hinted at business dealings between them. That single letter would become known in the investigation as Item 547, and it quietly changed everything. The police had no strong leads until now. The crime scene had been clean. The evidence was carefully planted to mislead them. But Item 547 gave them something they didn't have before: a direction. Without this anonymous tip, it's unclear if the police ever would have found the gang in time. Because after burying the money, the men had already split up, each taking a share of the 35 million guilders. They made a pact to return on New Year's Day, 1984, to retrieve the rest together. But fate, and a little bad luck, had other plans. Just 2 days after the ransom drop, police intercepted Jan Bollard and Martin Erkamps on their way to check on Heineken and Dodera. They were caught with their share of the cash still on them. Martin, the youngest and least experienced, was sentenced to 8 years. Jan, for his deeper involvement, got 12 years. The police began to close in. Then, on December 5th, a man claimed he had been hiking when he stumbled across something unusual in the woods. It wasn't just leaves and branches. It was several packs of high-denomination bills, still bundled, still untouched. The hiding place had been found, and with it, the rest of the ransom money. On December 28th, Franz Meyer turned himself in. Rumors swirled that he had burned 3 million guilders in a manic breakdown. Only 2 remained free: Cor van Hout and Willem Holleder. They had fled to Paris, laying low in a friend's apartment. But again, they slipped. They made too many phone calls back to loved ones in the Netherlands. The lines were tapped, and on February 29, 1984, the last 2 kidnappers were arrested. A quiet end to a plan that had once seemed unstoppable. They had pulled off the most daring kidnapping in European history. But in the end, it was never the police that brought them down. It was ego, greed, and friendship turned sour. And one anonymous letter that slipped into a mailbox at just the right time